Hey there, welcome to Podio Academy. This is Podio 201, sharing of single apps or items. So let's take a look at what we'll cover today. So we'll start with single item sharing. Like I mentioned, this is great with read-only access for when someone needs to review or reference a specific thing. Then we'll move into single app sharing, which is better suited for collaboration across a broader list inside of an app. So a list of tasks or projects, things that are open. And we'll use some real life examples. I have a workspace that we'll look at called Client Project and Task Management, and I'll work inside of an app called Client Services. But before we do jump into the demo, let's just take a quick moment to level set on how Podio is structured, just to make sure we're all on the same page. We do have some Podio 101 type courses that dive more into the structure and roles in workspaces as we are focusing on apps and items. But just to go from the top down, the organization, this is who you have upgraded and are paying licenses for your users. This is your company's workspaces. That's really the top down. The workspace, those are, the containers of what your team or departments are working in. And within each workspace, who has access to that workspace? What role do they have to see all of that content? They then, at the workspace, have the ability to view all of the apps and its apps items. So the role of a workspace user will then determine that. So now we're focusing in this session on apps and items. So when it comes to apps, these are custom spreadsheets, living, breathing, mini databases that are organizing the work you're tracking. So each app is comprised of some variation of fields, field types, designed around a specific type of content like projects or clients or invoices or whatever's fitting your use case. And inside the apps are items. So just like if you have a database or a spreadsheet, you have rows of data, individual records. This is where we'll look at the client services app, where an item might be a specific client request or a service engagement that we're tracking. So we'll jump into my Podio account. I am in my workspace here. Again, keep in mind that workspace users, you can invite users to an entire workspace, whether they're an employee or a client, and determine the type of role that that person can or cannot have. We've already covered that in a separate Podio 101 course. In this, I'll now click into the Client Services app. So let's say that I want to share one item with a particular user. So I can click into an item here and I get a little bit of information as I'm looking around the item. Currently right now, and let's jump into a better one actually. In this item here, I can see that there is a share button. There's a number 1 next to it. And let's just say that this is a record that I'm working on with one of my vendors or one of my clients, and I don't want them to see all of the other items as I'm cycling through, every record within this client service app, but particularly just this one item with this information. And so again, up here in the top right corner, we do have the share button. So I can click, it will ask me if I want to invite them into the workspace, knowing what that means versus the intent here, which is the single item. So I can click here on the single item. I can choose the recipient. So this is just another account. I can type them a message that is personalized. And you will notice it's not defaulted, so keep that in mind. But if I check this box, I can share this with read-only access. So something to keep in mind that this option is only available for Podio Plus and Premium plans. This is ideal when you want someone to view the record without being able to edit. Maybe a client needs to review a scope of work, or a stakeholder wants to see a project status without changing anything. If you are on a free plan, this option will not be there. You'll see the share option, the share button, and I can share a single item, but in this case, it's going to give the person full read and write access to that item, and they become what's known as a guest user. That might be fine in some cases. Just be mindful that guests can comment and edit and modify. So if you have flows or data tied to it, it might trigger things, and that's where read-only makes a little bit more sense. As well, you can revoke access, so I can see who has the ability to these items, and if it was an external user, I could remove access to this item. So common pitfalls, don't assume that it's read-only. Don't forget to revoke access. So if you need to have a follow-up reminder, make sure who has access to your data, how you guys or how long you're retaining that data in Podio. And if this scope isn't really working for you, maybe you want to share an app instead. A person needs ongoing access, or they need access to all of the service records in which you're doing. Maybe it's an audit, maybe it's just overseeing, maybe it's giving someone more control. So in this case, we want to share an entire app. I don't want to give them access to all the apps in this workspace. I just want them to be able to see and interact with this app. So now that I'm at the client services app, I'm working with a partner who needs to see everything, not just one item. I will hover here to this logo to share the app with others. And you'll notice that I can share this with a client, which will be considered a guest in this sense from a workspace perspective. So this time they'll only be able to review the contents versus a licensed user. They might not be a part of this workspace, but I can still let them edit contents in the app, and they are counted towards our license count. So here's where I can choose other users from my organization. I can write a message and share the actual app with them. They'll receive an email, they'll have access to the content and any future items. Now, app sharing is going to be great when you're working with someone on an ongoing basis, like I mentioned. If you're supporting access across multiple requests, collaborating with different teams, things you want to look out for are, making sure and double checking whether access is necessary or exposing unrelated data. So just keeping track of who has access to what, and understanding that clients and external users often don't need full employee roles. So looking to like the lighter guest type roles might make more sense in those situations. So to wrap it up, we did talk about item sharing. So again, quick reviews, one-off collaboration at the item level. Keep in mind if you're on that premium or plus, you do have that option for read only. So be sure to check that. And on the free plan, it does give full access. App sharing, best when someone needs that ongoing visibility. And most importantly, always check what you're sharing. Review the permissions, choose the right job for the tool. That's always going to be the name of the game.